lot of times we hear that a covenant is a sacred promise between us and God. In ancient times, such as those recorded in the Bible, covenants were also an important part of people's interactions with each other. In order for people to be safe and stay alive, people needed to be able to trust each other, and covenants were one way to secure that trust. So when God spoke to Noah, Abraham, or Moses about covenants, he was inviting them to enter into a relationship of trust with him. One of the best known examples of a covenant in the Old Testament is the one God made with Abraham and Sarah.
I will make thy seed of the dust of the earth, so that if man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered.
Abraham was very confused because he was 100 years old and he didn't have any kids at all. And so he thought his heir would be a servant that was born in his house because he didn't have any kids. But the Lord came unto him and said, "No, your servant won't be your heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir." So he said, "Only your kid will be your heir." And he said, "Look up at the stars. You will have more children than the stars in the sky."
He believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness.
And then the Lord said, "Now your wife, her name is Sarai, but instead of calling her Sarai, you should call her Sarah, and I will bless her and give her a son, and she'll be the mother of nations, and kings of people shall be of her." And Abraham kind of laughed in his heart because he was so happy, because he said, "If I'm 100 years old and Sarah is 90 years old, how will we have a kid?"
And God said, "So thy wife shall bear the son, indeed, and that shall he called his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him."
We often call this the Abrahamic covenant, although in the Old Testament it was known simply as the covenant. You will see that the Old Testament is fundamentally the story of people who saw themselves as the inheritors of this covenant, or the covenant people. God's covenant with Abraham promised wonderful blessings: an inheritance of land, a large posterity, access to priesthood ordinances, and a name that would be honored for generations to come. But the focus of this covenant was not just on the blessings Abraham and his family would receive, but also on the blessing they would be to the rest of God's children. Even though this was thousands of years ago, this covenant has been restored in our day, and it is currently being fulfilled in the lives of God's people. In fact, the fulfillment of the covenant is building momentum in the latter days as God's work progresses, blessing families throughout the world. And anyone who, like Abraham, wants to be a greater follower of righteousness, anyone who seeks the Lord earnestly, can be part of it. You are a child of the covenant. You made a covenant with God when you were baptized, or you will when you get baptized.
Many of you as has been baptized into Christ, put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. And if he be Christ, then are ye Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise.
You renew that covenant every time you partake of the sacrament, and you make sacred covenants in the temple. Together, these covenants make you a participant in the Abrahamic covenant, the fullness of which is found in temple ordinances. As President Russell M. Nelson taught, ultimately in the Holy Temple, we may become joint heirs to the blessings of an eternal family, as once promised to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and their posterity. Now, I want you to brainstorm with your family and think about what you can do as a covenant follower of Jesus Christ to be a blessing to the families around you.